Drones and cinema cameras, two of my favorite things on this planet, and thanks to technology, they seem to keep getting smaller and smaller. I mean, look at, they look like toys, right? But this shoots 4K 120, and this looks like an oversized GoPro or something, but this actually has some serious horsepower behind it with decent dynamic range, good color science, good resolution, and even compressed RAW.
Okay, like it is crazy that you could shoot B-RAW 4K on this thing.
It's almost pocket size, yeah.
It kind of is. So inconspicuous.
Now things have changed since the last time we made a video about tiny FPV drones. Back then we needed to have 2 cameras on every drone. We needed something with low latency for our goggles, and then we would attach another camera up top to get better image quality. But now with things like the O3 Air unit, we're starting to get cameras that are good enough to do both. Got our drones, and Sam's got the camera kind of set up and ready to go. I'm a big fan of small cameras and small drones because in LA, it's so hard to get away with filming. Like if I just took the Cinelifter, just went and ripped it around here, I get so busted. So the smaller and quieter and the more harmless the drone is, the more I can kind of get away with flying it in the city. Can a tiny drone building dive?
We'll find out.
We are up here.
It's just like crazy because it's so tiny and so quiet that people are like, ah, it's no big deal. It looks like a toy.
Yeah, or a loud insect. It's getting pretty dark now, so should we switch over to the BlackMagic?
Let's do it. This is what I'm looking at right now.
You know we have all the stuff to rig all this stuff on the camera, right?
We were trying to go bare bones today. It's not because I woke up late this morning and forgot everything in my car.
So even though the camera itself is tiny, you still do need a monitor as well as an SSD to record that RAW onto, right? I'm a big fan of small cameras and small drones because in LA, it's so hard to get away with filming. You start getting a shot and they're always just like, where's your permit? I feel like we're starting to become the masters of stealing shots. This lens is pretty massive, but it's less obvious than like a full-on cinema camera, right?
The crazy part, when like the security guard was checking us, I was like, oh, sorry, dude, I just have this lens here, but I don't have a cover for it. He's like, oh yeah, you don't want to scratch the lens. But he thought it was just the lens.
You know, I actually kind of like it. At first, it's like, oh man, I really need to get a cage on this thing so it could just be one piece. But when we're stealing shots like this, it's kind of nice to just like have the monitor kind of tucked away in the backpack or something, and then just like pull this thing out, and then people look at it and go like, what is that? It doesn't look like a professional camera. I feel like what we need to do is create a trench coat that's designed for stealth shooting. And then the wires would run down the jacket, and then this would just be on the inside.
I mean, they'll just think you're on drugs, but yeah.
In LA, they don't bother people on drugs. They bother people that are trying to shoot a short film.
So stupid.
Oh, baby, you're a liar. Or maybe I'm a liar too.
First impressions of the footage, I gotta admit, I really like the straight out of camera look from the BlackMagic, which would make sense since they also own DaVinci Resolve, so they're not new to color science. I'm also a fan of the B-RAW, which is their compressed RAW format, so we can make some tweaks in post, like if it was a RAW photo, but since it's still compressed, it's keeping the file sizes reasonable. Shooting at 8:1 compression, because that's what I used back when I was shooting on Redmore, but I'm curious about trying these Q settings, which isn't a consistent bitrate, but adjust depending on the complexity of the frame, which sounds efficient, so I'll give that a shot. Now when it comes to the low light footage, it's no Sony, but it's still pretty good. It's got a dual native ISO at 400 and 3200, and this little graph right here is actually very useful. It gives you an idea of how much dynamic range you have in the highlights versus the shadows, depending on what you have your ISO set to. And then once you cross over 1000 ISO, then we go into that higher base. There's actually a lot of times where if you're filming in the dark, you actually want your ISO to be low and vice versa, which is kind of confusing because that's the opposite of what you would do if you're going for exposure. But sometimes you just want a lot of highlight dynamic range, so then you might actually go kind of high on your ISO and ND it down. So something to think about. Now the footage itself is very shaky, which was expected because it's a tiny camera with no IBIS in the sensor or optical stabilization of the lens, and I was kind of counting on digital stabilization using the gyro data, which is kind of like what a GoPro would do, and they actually built that feature directly into DaVinci Resolve, but I wasn't able to get it to work. I asked BlackMagic about it and they said it's probably a software update thing that needs to happen. It seems like there's some people that have been able to gyro stabilize this footage using GyroFlow, but whenever I try, it just instantly crashes GyroFlow. So I'm just gonna keep an eye out for software or firmware updates, and hopefully one day it'll just start working, which would be awesome because then I could just put a wide angle lens on this thing and it basically becomes a cinematic action camera. I think for most people who want this picture quality, they're going to be better off with the BlackMagic 4K pocket camera because that already comes with the display and you can put a memory card in there and all that. Monitor up top, and on top of the monitor, we put a little SSD bracket. So now it is a little bit more manageable instead of having to juggle all those different things. But anyways, we have to film a mini commercial for our sponsor Lick with this setup here and see if we can make it look kind of decent. We're working with natural lighting and seeing what we get.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dylan. In my many minutes as a medical professional, I'm here to bring awareness about a serious condition known as mediocre musicitis. Notice the current music selection. Unremarkable, unmemorable, and scores low on the vibe check rating. Symptoms include a loss of subscribers, an increase in dislikes, and a major decline in swag.
But Dr. Dylan, I don't want to get this video demonetized due to copyrighted music.
Yeah, what we really wanted to use was Ice Spice.
Yeah. Wait, Ice Spice?
With over 1 million mainstream tracks to choose from, Lick can turn your content from feeling like a visit to my office for a colonoscopy to a good old-fashioned twerk off with the boys.
Stop playing with him, Ryan.
Whoa, Sam, what's up with this music in your boxing training montage?
Oh, shit.
Tell it to me straight, Doc. Is there any hope for me?
This has quickly progressed to stage 4 musicitis.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but I'm gonna give you a heavy dose of link in the description, which will give you 50% off your first mainstream music track and 14 days free stock music.
Ain't that nigga cause I got it out the mud. Ain't in the family, nigga be on blood. Screaming for 12 to the DA and judge. Never been a dog, never been a scrub. 4-5 Glock 9, all you want to judge. Better than
Sounds like success. So what are you waiting for? Use music from some of your favorite artists. That's a doctor's order.
You're like surprisingly good at this.
How are you so good, Sam?
Now, trying to edit this footage coming off the camera, how powerful does your system need to be to handle this compressed RAW, which can be intimidating, but honestly, I'm using an M1 MacBook Pro right now, and it just glides through it like if it's anything else. So if you have the hard drive space, you don't really need anything special. You probably also noticed I cut in some FPV footage in there too, which is always fun to sprinkle in. It is still a little tricky from a technical standpoint because of the lack of 24 frames per second in the O3 Air unit, but the picture quality cut in surprisingly good, even though I didn't do any grading to the O3 footage. But what really stands out is how close I can comfortably fly to Sam's stunt double. Oh, I've missed you. The FX6 is back after a replaced sensor. Had this on a little FPV drone a little while ago and had an incident. Not gonna lie, I've been a little traumatized to fly FPV for a bit after that, but on the bright side, Sammy was flying the Free Fly Ember, that super slow-mo camera on that shoot, and just got some of the most epic shots for this Oakley commercial. But like starting to fly the tiny drones again, it's starting to remind me how much fun it actually is. So if I'm flying more for fun, I might just do the little BlackMagic on there. I've actually had my eye on the previous version of the Micro for a bit, but that one didn't have gyro information. So I really only got this G2 for the gyro. So I'm really just like kind of hoping for that software update to happen soon, because I would love to have some stabilization capability out of this. But in the meantime, this is the king right here. All right, so Mateo has been practicing FPV on the simulator. You put some hours on it, right?
Yeah, 25 plus hours.
Oh, 25 plus hours?
I used the controller you gave me, the DJI.
Feel this one. The controller I'm using, the Radio Master
Ooh,
Boxer.
this is nice.
And it's a custom one. They sent me a custom one that says potato on
Potato.
it. But this is a good one. If you can hit a gap on this flight like this, I'd be a true believer of the simulator at that point.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and try a little hover.
Okay.
Oh, oh no. All right, cool. You got it up in the air. I think you're ready for the goggles now.
Maybe. Yes, it's really hard to just kind of like.
A little bit different from the simulator.
Yeah, but I kind of like it. It says aircraft sitting for extended period, powering off automatically to cool down.
This thing tends to get pretty hot pretty fast and it's air cooled, so it needs to kind of stay flying to stay cool. Just like a lot of Harleys, right?
And Porsches.
Yeah.
You need to
Porsches
move.
are air cooled also?
No.
Oh.
They need to move.
And this one's interesting. This one's one by Flywoo. And this is basically the O3 Air unit, but naked, so they strip it down. And what's nice about that is that actually makes it lighter weight. The downside of making it naked is that it doesn't have the heat sink, so it actually overheats faster. Here Mateo goes for his very first flight. Oh, shit. You're flying! Oh, yeah! Yeah! That's actually pretty good. Oh! Yeah.
Yes, I like it.
This is full manual mode, and I mean, that's actually pretty good. Nice and easy, yeah.
Okay, I'm getting it. I'm getting it.
Great. You would not be able to do what you're doing right now if you did not have that much time on the simulator.
You think so?
So it makes a big difference for sure. I mean, that was your second flight and you're already like getting around. That is great to have the muscle memory already before you start actually flying, because people usually try to learn the muscle memory while flying, and that means a lot of broken drones.
I think everyone should start on a simulator just to get a feel for the controls.
Yeah. Can he get through? Oh, hey! Honestly, to get to this point in full manual mode, it actually takes a lot of practice. So it's worth knowing for anyone watching. FPV drones is like fully manual. It's like a manual transmission car opposed to like a lot of DJI style drones like the Mavic, which is more like a car with autopilot. Like, you know how like in DJI drones, like you have a battery percentage of like 80% or this much flight time left? With this, it's way different where you actually have to keep an eye on the voltage of the battery because once it hits a certain spot, you just, usually what happens is that you just start losing power and you can't stay afloat and you have to, and then you just go find a spot to land and then land. The thing I've noticed about 2-cell drones like this is that once you get really low, I don't think it supplies enough power to the O3 to where your video actually just goes out. A few times I basically ran the battery down low and then I gave it a lot of throttle and it was like, and then just like the video went out. I was like, what happened? So land early. All right, you got the ladder. Oh, you did a turn. Yeah, there, you're doing your coordinated turns. Oh, 2 times. Right this way, sir. Oh yeah, that's pretty dang good. This is like maybe 10 minutes of flying now on an actual FPV drone. That was pretty good.
That's fun. I love that.
It's by far the fastest I've ever seen anyone learn it. So that simulator time definitely made a big difference.
It wasn't fast. It was like 25 hours, Gene.
Like with these manual FPV drones, even just like charging the battery, you have to know quite a bit. You need to know how many cells, and is it a high voltage LiPo, or how fast you could charge it. And if you do it wrong, it could explode. I once got an email saying like, I bought it because I saw your video, it looked fun, but this thing sucks, I can't get it to fly. And it's like, oh yeah, like if you buy an FPV drone, you have to kind of be prepared for a lot of headaches and a lot of Joshua Bardwell videos and simulator.
And simulator. I think that's the best investment. It's probably like $10. I think you can use the PlayStation controller to kind of like start.
You want to try a slightly faster one?
Oh no.
You got this. Like look at my controller real quick, my throttle. See how it's like way lower?
Yeah.
You don't want to push a lot of throttle into this or else you'll go up to the ceiling very fast. All right, you want to give it a shot?
Less throttle. Hey, this one feels way better. Why is it? Like more stable.
So bigger propellers, it gets a lot more stable. So I would say anything between 3.5 inch and 5 inch is kind of like your middle ground. That's pretty good at everything. Once you go below 3.5 inch, like 2 inch or less, then it's kind of a specialty. And then once you go past 5 inch, then it's bigger, like a Cinelifter for cinema cameras or
because I've been using the 5 inches
yeah.
on the simulator, but this one feels a lot more stable.
Yeah, honestly, I think Flywood did really good with this drone, actually. While we're on the topic of tiny things, check this out, a tiny orange. And I guess you actually eat it with the skin on it too. They're actually pretty good. I know I haven't been super active on here, but we've kind of been in like, what is it, honeymoon phase?
No, honeymoon's after.
Oh.
It's the panic, the 2 weeks before, scrambling around, going like, oh, do we need this, do we need this? And you don't even have shoes yet.
We've decided to do like a super micro tiny wedding, which is getting pretty popular now because I hear like a big old wedding is just super stressful.
And expensive.
But also, top secret, we've been working on something for a pretty long time. Super excited to be able to announce it. I think we're gonna be able to announce it right at the beginning of NAB. So if you happen to be going, come say hi. But man, I'm excited about it. I wish I could just tell you now, like it's so hard to hold secrets in. Anyways, let's go ahead and wrap this up with pros and cons of all the things we've kind of talked about. So starting with this tiny drone, I mean, I think the benefit of it is that it is absolutely tiny, so there's almost like no gap that you can't really get through. I'd say the downside of something this tiny with tiny propellers and everything is the flight performance is not gonna be substantial. But if you're looking to just get shots through tiny places or flying indoors, I think this is interesting. And then of course there's this Flywoo right here, which I think might be the one that I'm probably most impressed by because it's just like the flight performance of it is actually pretty outstanding. Quite a bit bigger than the newbie drone we were flying, but you know, with bigger propellers you get just so much better flight performance. So I mean, I really actually enjoyed flying this little thing. Having it all naked definitely does make things a little bit more fragile too, though. You can definitely see that there's a couple of cracks right there on the lens, so I do need to go in and swap this out. Of course, we have our tiny little BlackMagic G2 micro camera. I was actually really impressed at how long just a single Canon battery can power this thing. A reasonable amount of time considering it's recording B-roll, and I think that's the pro of this camera is that it's actually very powerful and capable, and with the weight of this thing being nearly nothing, it's probably really easy to suction cup it into like an interior of a car, or maybe if you're trying to do like a helmet cam or something like that. And then now onto the cons, I feel like trying to use this more like a cinema camera isn't very practical. It's pretty slow to try to navigate everything through these little buttons, although you can control this camera with certain other ways, but I mean, I only have stuff to just control it with these buttons for now. Also, at least in this firmware, we can't even do playback, so if we record something and we want to check it, we can't. But really this seems like it was designed more for live production, So this being under $1,000, you could get a handful of them, rig them all over our space, and then wire them all into like a switcher or something like that. That way from one central place, you can switch between all the different cameras for live broadcast, or you could record everything locally or adjust all the camera settings for live production / broadcast. Something that I'm not super familiar with. Let me know in the comments if that's something that you think we should go and explore. I'm gonna go ahead and fly a few batteries with this little guy. Got a little excited there.
It sounds like it's inside. Look.
Oh my god, I got lucky that it was stuck in there and not into the water. This is what FPV truly looks like. Okay, you think I'm joking. I am not. Oh my god, it got stuck in this like little wire. Oh,
You're so lucky.
I know, my gosh. It's either trying to get through mud or trying to get up in a tree.
Hop a fence.
Or hop a fence. Like, this is what FPV actually looks like. Don't say I didn't warn you.
It smells like gas over here and oil.
It does smell like gas out of here. We should probably get out of here. We're done for the day. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe and all that stuff.
Have you written your vows yet?
No.